Welcome, NFL football fans. It's that time again. Time for another edition of NFL Football Talk. I'm your host, Charles E. Smith Jr. This is an Inside Sports production. We're all the way up to week 6 of this season, and lots of stuff going on. We got to tell you about a lot of things. You know I don't work alone. I only enlist the very, very best to help me out with this show. Let me introduce the man many of you already follow on Twitter at Chris L. Sports. Here he is from an undisclosed location somewhere in sunny, well, actually it's ridiculously hot, Southern California. None other than my homeboy, Chris Lardieri. Chris, what's happening, man?
Charles, thanks again. Great to be here. Yeah, tired of the heat. Definitely doesn't feel like football weather, but one thing as October develops and the leaves change somewhere other than here, it'll feel a little more like autumn.
Yeah, most definitely. So what do you think, man? We're up to week 6. I mean, the injuries continue to pile up. Jamal Charles done for the season with another torn ACL. Nate Solder, left tackle for the New England Patriots. He's done with a torn bicep. DeMarcus Ware of the Denver Broncos, he's out with a back injury. And Tyrod Taylor, dynamic young quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, now sprained MCL. He may or may not play. It looks doubtful, but they keep on going. And Brandon Weeden, he's out for the Cowboys because, well, basically he just plain stinks. He's lost his 3 starts with the Cowboys, and he's lost his last 11 NFL starts overall. Also, out with Brandon Weeden, in with Matt Castle for the Cowboys, and that brings us to this coming week. But, but before we start, we also got to give props to, how about Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin with that gutsy call, just a yard from the goal line, down by 3 points in San Diego, and he goes for it instead of kicking the field goal and letting Michael Vick lose the game in overtime. What do you think?
Very gutsy call indeed, and the more I thought about it, I got to watch it live, and I guess Mike Tomlin got the memo from the previous week with the Thursday night game and decided to run one of the best running backs in the league. Now, running the Wildcat there, I think, is a little bit risky and dicey. If he doesn't get that, I'm going to be calling for his head Tuesday morning. But props to him. And, one thing that people probably overlooked is up until that drive, Vic hadn't run the ball at all, and the Chargers left the middle of the field open, and Michael Vick did his young Michael Vick impression and put the Steelers into at least field goal position there with a huge run. I mean, if Vic's going to play again this week, I'm not saying you have to let him run rampant, but let him run some unleash the hounds per se, because he just creates so many problems when he's on the move, even if he's rolling out. I know he doesn't have quite the arm he used to, but at least he could still move his feet.
Well, the key is when he rolls out to his left, because he is a lefty, he's versatile because then he can throw on the run. But if he has to roll to his right, he becomes one-dimensional because he really can only run because he doesn't have the nimble footwork to get his body turned and get in position to throw. But I think it was a good call by him. And when you look at it, look at the two offenses. Who would you most trust in overtime to get the necessary points? Phillip Rivers or Mike Vick? And bottom line is, I think the Chargers would have won that game in overtime. I can almost guarantee it. So I like the call by Tomlin, not being conservative and just going for the kill right there when they had the chance. Yeah,
and not only that, I think it could probably give his team some momentum going forward. Now, you mentioned Rivers and driving. While normally I'd agree with you, Phillip Rivers, I mean, if this guy played in New York, he ripped to shreds, and he's great. He got Gates' 100th touchdown. He's got the stats to prove it, but the guy turns the ball over and/or doesn't make the big play when at the most inopportune times. And he did it again the other night. He threw a pick 6.
Right.
Late in the game when they could have put the Steelers away, they had to settle for a long field goal. And I think it's probably a good thing that he's playing in San Diego, where they think he walks on water, but. That's just one thing that sticks out to me about Phillip Rivers. When push comes to shove, the guy cannot get you over the hump. Unlike your favorite quarterback, Charles, Andy Dalton.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, Dalton was nails this past week, against Seattle, down 17 points in the fourth quarter, brings them back. So is it time to really put Andy Dalton up there in that conversation, or we still need to wait for a playoff win, right?
We need a playoff win because, to make a baseball analogy, up until last night, everyone doubted Clayton Kershaw's validity as a top pitcher simply because he had won a playoff game or gotten past the 7th inning. And now that he did it, I guess he's finally a great pitcher. That's the way we work in American sports. So you win a playoff game and or a title, you're worthless, you're a nobody.
Now, something we talked about earlier on, and I remember your Giants started out 0-2 this year, and I said one of the things I said, well, 0-2, and the rumblings were starting about Coughlin's job, and I said, isn't this the point where the Giants normally peel off about 3 straight wins and silence everybody? And what happened? They peeled off 3 straight wins, didn't they?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I should have listened to you. Now, that said, it's still October. The Giants have been lucky. They didn't have any major injuries. There was a scare Sunday night when Odell Beckham went down with a hammy, and there were 3 nobodies, so I couldn't even tell you wide receiver.
And Cruz is still gone. They haven't had Cruz this season, so they're getting it done, though. They're getting it done. Yeah,
they are. Now, if they can stay healthy, and they get the Cowboys, and this week they get the Eagles, next week they get the Cowboys with Matt Castle, which could definitely be helpful, and they got some favorable matchups coming up, including the Saints and Buccaneers. They could roll a few games off. Now, that said, the Redskins and Eagles are lurking. They're starting to win games and or be competitive. So, long season, but yet again, Charles, the theme of the season, you have to stay healthy. And I think as of right now, as we approach the halfway point, that's going to be the underarching story. And bigger picture, is this a function of guys not practicing enough, not being together because of limited OTAs and time in pads and training camp? Is something to think about.
Yeah, and to me, I think the Giants are in a good position here because if we look at the Washington, I think they've got the Jets this week, and the Jets getting Sheldon Richardson back, who was their best pass rusher last season. He's coming back after that 4-game suspension, so that's going to make it even better for that stout defensive backfield they have there. So Washington's probably going to lose this week. I just think this division suddenly, it's the Giants' division to lose, the NFC East. There's no reason why they shouldn't take it this year. Romo's going to be out for 4 more games, so no problems there as far as the Cowboys. So it's the Giants' division to lose, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it is, which makes me nervous. This is a team that loves playing as the underdog or from behind.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll kind of get into the picks of the week, everybody. Last week, Chris went 3-2 on the picks. I went 4-1. But before we do that, Mr. Lardieri, I got to give you a little bit of time here. Some nuggets of wisdom for the NFL fans out there.
Yeah, something very interesting is going on in Detroit. Matthew Stafford got benched, and a team that was in the playoffs last year and a controversial referee's call away from moving on to the second round after beating Dallas. The wheels have completely come off. As I said, Stafford's been on the bench. Sue left in free agency, and while I don't blame the Lions for letting him go, it looks like their defense is completely imploded. And Jim Caldwell, everyone loved a year ago. Everyone's remembering why he got run out of Indy in the first place. So right there's a team that could be in free fall. And then on the flip side, you see signs of life from some previously what we thought were dormant teams. The Browns, even though they don't have a great record, they're in games every week. They got a big win this past week. And you look at the Bears. I mean, I know they had a nice comeback win against the Chiefs. Jamal Charles being knocked out of the game and for the season doesn't help. But what we found is it's still very early in the season. Anything can happen. And you look at someone like the Bengals, who are undefeated right now. Who knows if the Steelers get Big Ben back and they face each other twice? I mean, those could be really key, pivotal games. And one game I'm interested in this week is the Steelers, even if it is Vic at quarterback, against the Cardinals. Bruce Arians, who used to be with the Steelers as offensive coordinator, facing his old team. And that's one matchup to definitely keep your eye on this weekend. See if the Steelers defense, which has been playing better, can shut down this juggernaut Cardinals offense.
Yeah, we shall see. So let's go ahead and we'll get into the picks. First game on the docket, and we talked about the Cleveland Browns. You talked about them just now. Denver Broncos with, what can you say, a sputtering offense and a pretty stout defense going into Cleveland against really kind of a feisty Cleveland team led by quarterback Josh McCown, who, from what I understand, he has a little bit of an ankle injury that he's been playing through, but he should be good to go against Denver. Peyton Manning at quarterback for the Broncos. Peyton Manning's total QBR is just below that of Jameis Winston, who quarterbacks, the rookie quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, Winston, they won this past week, his first game of the year without a turnover. So I'll let you go ahead and call this one. What do you think? The Broncos, who have kind of limped to a 5-0 record here to start the season in Cleveland to face the Browns. Is this one where the Browns get that win? And, the Broncos looked terrible last week, beating Oakland. I don't even know how they did it, but how do you see this one?
Getting back to your stat real quick, Charles, I don't know if that means Peyton Manning's really bad or the QBR is a meaningless statistic, but I digress. I like the way the Browns are playing. They've hung in games they really should have beaten San Diego on their home turf. They get the win last week. Josh McCown's become the first Browns quarterback ever, not Brian Sipe, not Bernie Kosar, to throw 3 consecutive 300-plus-yard games. So props to him. That said, I think the Broncos are going to win. I mean, I think it'll be a close game. I don't think they'll blow them out. As you said, a really ugly game against Oakland. But at the end of the day, I like that Broncos defense, and I think the Broncos on the offensive side of the ball can control the ball, run the clock out, and could be a snoozer of a game, low scoring, but I'll go with Denver.
Yeah. And, we're going to have to disagree right off the bat here. I hate to put up my faith in Cleveland, given their history over the past, 40-plus years. But I think Cleveland's going to get it done here. DeMarcus Ware is going to be out for the Broncos. He's out with that back injury. I believe he has been actually ruled out, not even questionable or doubtful. I believe he's out for that game. But even if he does play, he'll be at 70%. I think the Browns will be able to handle that, and in typical Browns fashion, they're going to try their best to lose this game, but in the end, I think they're going to come through. So I'm going to go with Cleveland on this one.
You're on the Ohio football bandwagon. It's official.
I never have to pay for a meal anywhere in Ohio. I just have to get there.
Good luck.
Okay. And next game, Carolina, another undefeated team. Carolina 4-0 coming off the bye, going into Seattle. Seattle at 2-3, and probably the scariest 2-3 team on the planet. Carolina's Cam Newton, who's been doing it all, and they're going into Seattle. Seattle desperate for a win, especially after last week. They've been blowing leads in the fourth quarter, which is uncharacteristic. They need beast mode back in Seattle. But I'm going to tell you, with this game, whether or not Marshawn Lynch plays, I don't think matters, because the Carolina, they've played well, but Cam Newton is getting a lot of that done. And I think with Seattle's defense, they'll be able to shut him down enough so that the Seattle offense, whether or not beast mode is there, I like the Seattle defense to come through this week at home in front of their home crowd, shut down Cam Newton, and get them to. What do you think?
We're going to disagree again. I'm believing in the Panthers. I think sets up for an interesting showdown with the Falcons for the division title this year. I'm looking forward to those games. But at the end of the day, I think the Seahawks are a smoke and mirrors team. They can't get Jimmy Graham in the office. I don't think they have wide receiver depth. While I do like the running game, whether Lynch plays or not. Right. Ultimately, Russell Wilson has been running a lot this year. That offensive line's in shambles. On the defensive side, I don't think they're getting the pressure that they had in previous years. And at the end of the day, Canton does enough to win. I really like the Carolina D. I think they're going to pressure Russell Wilson, key on the run. Could be a very close game, but remember that playoff game last year, and the Panthers played an ugly game, and they were still in it after 3 quarters, so I think they get some revenge this year. Okay,
well, here we go, and this is shaping up to be kind of a salty pick segment here. Let's get down to the next one, San Diego Chargers, and you talked about Phillip Rivers and, can he or can he not close out? In Green Bay to play the Packers, and the Packers have not played that well the last 2 weeks, and then this past weekend, I think they did all they could to give that game to St. Louis. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, hasn't thrown a pick at Lambeau Field since December of 2012. He throws 2 and loses a fumble in that game. The Packers are missing field goals and everything, but I think St. Louis quarterback Nick Foles, he thought it was just an invitation to play really poorly at the position of quarterback. So he threw 4 interceptions himself and just gave that game back to the Packers. So How do you see this one here? Does San Diego take care of business, or you taking the Packers at home in Lambeau?
No, I'm going with the Packers at home, even though they played sloppy the last 2 weeks, and Rodgers proved he's human by throwing an interception. I don't like the way the Chargers are playing. Normally I'd say they go and win this game because that's the Chargers are such an up-and-down team, but I like the way the Packers defense is playing, and after watching Vic have moments of success and make the Chargers cornerbacks run in circles and Eric Weddle a non-factor, I really don't think they're going to stop Rodgers, Lacey, anyone on that offensive side. So I'll go Green Bay. Even if it's not a blowout, I think they get the win.
Yeah. I'd like to go Green Bay here, but I'm going to say this is one of those games where the Chargers, and the reason why no one really writes the Chargers off and always gives them hope is because of games like this where, you got Rivers who, he messes up here and there, but he comes through sometimes in big moments. I think this is one of those games the Chargers need this to really stay in the hunt for their division, in the playoff hunt and everything. So this is a big game for them. I'm going to go with the Chargers to go into Green Bay and take their flag, so to speak. I got San Diego here.
The contrarian week for you, Charles.
Okay, and now we got to pick kind of a stinker of a game here every now and then. So the Miami Dolphins, I'll go ahead and say my Miami Dolphins in Tennessee to play the Titans. Each team, I think, they each have one win on the year. The Dolphins, of course, they fired their head coach, Joe Philbin. They fired Kevin Coyle, the defensive coordinator. So they're going in there, brand new attitude, so to speak, coming off the bye week. And in Tennessee, where Mariota's been kind of up and down, he has this year. And I think Tennessee has got a good future ahead of them, but are they quite there yet? I don't know. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say Miami, new attitude, the new coach placebo effect. For one thing, they're going to come out, inspired effort. And I like Miami to get their second win of the year here in Tennessee.
Charles, new coach, new attitude, same Dolphins. I really don't see Tannehill hasn't been playing well. Other than Landry, they really don't have a receiving threat. The defense is completely underachieved. And like you said, I like the way Tennessee's been playing. Mariota seems to be up, down, up, down. I'm thinking this is an up week for him. And, even playing poorly, they did enough last week to beat the Bills, but Tyrod Taylor did some nice scrambling to help the Bills' victory. And I don't see Tannehill doing that. I'm going to go with the Titans. I think they get the win at home, and I think Dan Campbell will have to give some sort of great motivational post-game speech to rally the troops again.
Okay, here we go. Well, let's see if we actually agree on this one. Your New York Giants in Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Eagles coming off that big win. They basically crushed the New Orleans Saints last week. New York Giants have won 3 straight games. Big division game. And, division games, a lot of times it can just go out, all the stats can go out the window. What do you think here? Big Blue in Philly to take on the Eagles.
I don't like picking key division games involving the Giants, but I have to. I have to do it, I'm told here. Normally, I don't like the Giants on the road in Philly, especially in a primetime game. They've had a few rough ones in the past few years. That said, I do like the way the Giants are playing. Thankfully, Beckham's healthy. And at the end of the day, I like the way the Giants' defense played against Kaepernick, even though they kind of let them back into the game.
Yeah.
But the good news, and this is why I'm picking the Giants, the opposing quarterback this week is Sam Bradford. So as bad as you think Colin Kaepernick is, Sam Bradford's worse in my opinion. I think they key on DeMarco Murray and probably be another nail-biter, one that gives me an ulcer, well on my way to an ulcer, a close Giants victory in Philly.
And you know what? For once, we're going to have to agree. The Giants, I think they're rolling. And this is a game they need to win this. They're the better team at this point. They got a chance to bury the Eagles in the division. So they got to come through here. That's it. If they got playoff aspirations, want to be taken seriously, this is the type of game they got to win. I think Big Blue comes through here.
I can't believe you agreed with me after all that.
Okay, there you go. There's our picks for the week, everybody. And remember, every single week right here, this is an Inside Sports production. This is NFL Football Talk. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheInsideSports. Follow Mr. Lardieri on Twitter at ChrisLSports. And before we sign off, Mr. Lardieri, any final words?
I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to some of these matchups this week, but I must say the referees really didn't make any serious botching of the calls. However, let's not forget our friend the clock operator in San Diego who let the clock run down. So as much as I'd like to pick on the refs this week, we've now got clock operators who can't keep time or hit the button. I don't know what they do, but always seems to be something in the NFL, doesn't it? So I'm hoping this week that not only do the refs get the calls, but the clock's accurate. So we shall see.
Yep, most definitely. All right, everybody. So we're signing off here for Mr. Chris Lardieri. I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr. Thank you.